Trash talk among two outspoken governors. Next. Welcome to the Stan Simpson Show, a program about Connecticut people and compelling issues. Make it a point to drop in every week. Connecticut's new governor, Dan Malloy, is engaging in some trash talk with outspoken New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. Christie says Malloy's proposed tax increases will drive businesses out of Connecticut. Hartford current Capitol Bureau Chief Chris Keating stops by to share his insight on this. Then a bombshell announcement by Hartford Mayor Pedro Segarra that upended the search for a new schools chief. City Councilman Corey Brinson, Alex Johnson of Concan, and Jim Starr of Achieve Hartford join us for a talk about the fallout.
I'm still going to try to
the NCAA sanctions against UConn basketball program are in, and depending on your rooting interests, either they were a slap on the wrist or too severe. Sports law attorney Robert Romano joined us for a chat about the sanctions, Jim Calhoun's reaction, and the ramifications for the program. But first, Connecticut's new governor, Dan Malloy, engaged in some trash talk with Chris Christie. Here was Chris Keating, not to be confused with Chris Christie.
No.
Governor's going back and forth. I got to be honest, I'm kind of enjoying this little spat here where the Jersey governor is saying he'll be waiting at the border to take all those Connecticut jobs. And Dan Malloy firing back. A little history here, though, right?
Yeah, no, there was definitely a dust-up. Some of the history that some people forget, back in the fall campaign, Christie came to Old Greenwich, Connecticut, and raised money for Tom Foley, who ran against Malloy and lost by a percentage point. So it goes back and forth. They've never been on the same side politically. And then fast forward, Malloy had some critical comments of Christie in the New York Times just last week. So
in regards to what kind of thing, personality or just sort of
personality? Said he was bombastic and a couple other things like that, and said that he personally doesn't like to be bombastic. There's no reason just to be bombastic for bombastic's sake. So Christie obviously read that in the New York Times. And then he goes on MSNBC and it all starts from there. So there's a little history in the background there.
And the media is having a feeding frenzy with this, right? Having a governor now not afraid to talk a little trash. And Malloy responded saying, okay, how are they going to take our jobs when their taxes are higher, their sales tax are higher, their corporate taxes are higher? So he fired back saying essentially, hey, Connecticut should be taking Jersey jobs.
Right, exactly. And that's a big issue. I mean, for the income tax, like you mentioned, Connecticut's high rate, even if it goes up to the rate that Malloy wants it will still be below New Jersey's. There's battles and border battles on cigarette taxes, gasoline taxes, every tax across the board.
Income taxes, right?
Income taxes, sales taxes. So as part of Malloy's $1.5 billion tax increase package, they were looking at what all the other states were doing. So Christie sees all the headlines about that Connecticut's raising taxes, and he isn't in New Jersey. So he says, I'll be waiting at the border when everybody comes back over from Connecticut.
And he implied that Dan Malloy should get with the governor's game plan. And the game plan is what? Not to raise taxes? What is this governor's game plan? He said Malloy needs to.
Well, he also said that Malloy needs to read the governor's manual because he's only been on the job less than 2 months. So that's why he was saying, this new guy coming in has got to read the governor's manual. That's what that was all about. So,
show some respect for his elders, he's saying, so to speak, right?
And then Malloy came on the same show later. They were not on together.
Right.
They were not on together. They were on the same show, but they were on separately. And they were both commenting on the other's comments.
All right, so what does this tell us about Dan Malloy's personality and his leadership style? Because I don't suspect we'd see this kind of give and take with the previous governor, right? That wasn't her style. She was more genteel.
Correct. Jody Rell was definitely genteel and a gentle lady, and she did not mix it up. She did not enjoy doing that kind of stuff. Before her was John Rowland, and in his heyday, he did enjoy mixing it up. When he got in trouble, he didn't talk to anybody. But in his heyday, he enjoyed mixing up with the unions. Jerry Brown, 1199 back in those days. So Malloy enjoys mixing it up, basically.
Hey, the guy's a former prosecutor, right? He likes a good argument, likes to fight. And the knock on him during the campaign that he has sharp elbows, and he tried to sort of cover that up. But that's who he is. He likes to fight a little bit.
Yeah, and we'll see how this all hashes out. If the tax increases that Malloy has proposed, if those will be reduced, or exactly how that will work. But everybody, at least the legislators and Malloy, they're keeping their eyeball on the other states because Connecticut doesn't want to put themselves at a competitive disadvantage. A disadvantage specifically on the income tax, for example, if you work on Wall Street, you could commute in from Hoboken or you could commute in from New Canaan. New Canaan's a little bit further, but some people love New Canaan or Greenwich. So that is an issue, the cross-border taxes. I don't think people are going to, want to move every 3 years because the tax rates change. But on the overall, they want to know what the estate tax is, the income tax, the sales tax. They want to know what all these rates are.
So he's on the stump right now, Malloy, trying to sell his proposal. He wants basically $2 billion in concessions from the union, right? 1.5 in increases. So he's got to make real clear here. We had Christine Stewart on last week. What happens sometimes, people forget they kill the messenger, right? The guy comes in with all these grand plans and he goes out on the stump and they start blaming him for the problem, almost like the Obama factor, where people say, well, gee, this guy caused all the problems, forgetting that, hey, he inherited this mess. He's just trying to give you the hard medicine. How does he sell his proposal now to an electorate?
Well, he keeps talking about shared sacrifice. John Olson with the AFL-CIO said, shared can be I get the crumb, you get the loaf. So it depends how you want to share it. I mean, they're talking about fair share, so that everybody gets it in a fair way. Now, how exactly do you get it in a fair way? Well, I guess a person who's a millionaire, they can pay more in the income tax. The smokers are going to have to pay more. The beer drinkers are going to have to pay more. If you drive a car, rent a car, sleep in a hotel, everything you do is going to be taxed more.
Yoga classes are going to tax
yoga classes. See, you're going to have to,
downward dog, all that stuff be taxed.
My goodness.
So now, all right, we had this situation going on.
You got to stop the Pilates that you were doing.
That's right, yeah, all of that stuff, right? The manicures and the pedicures.
Yeah, that's another thing. That's part of it too.
So what's next now for this guy? And what's your impression right now? He's new, he's energetic, he's bringing that fire. Who will be allies? And who could be surprise enemies? Because one thing he has a Democratic-controlled House, a Democratic-controlled Senate. Who do you suspect could be an enemy, quote-unquote, among the Democrats, and who will be his allies?
Well, one of the big things in the Senate is they only need 18 votes to pass the tax package and the budget package because Nancy Wyman will be there and will break the tie. In the past, when they had to override Governor Rell, you needed 24 votes to do the override. So therefore, the fiscally conservative Democrats, Bob Duff and Joan Hartley from Waterbury and a series of other Democrats were crucial votes. At this point, you only need 18, so you don't necessarily need your fiscally conservative Democrats to vote in favor of it. Okay. So it may be easier to actually pass the budget. Now, with the special elections that we just had, the Republicans have picked up a couple of seats, but you are correct that the Democrats still control things. It will be 22-14 in the Senate, 22-14.
In 15 seconds, you'll see one Democrat who you say, this guy could be someone who flips on Malloy if Malloy's not careful. There one person who you suspect may have more issues than Malloy suspects right now to keep an eye on?
I'm not sure. Like I say, the core four of those fiscally conservative Democrats, Paul Doyle, Bob Duff, Joan Hartley, right. Gail Schlossberg, people like that are proven fiscal conservatives from last year. They didn't want the tax increases to go up too much. They could balk at some of the tax increases. But the dust is not settled yet.
All right, we'll keep following that. Segue real quick to Joe Lieberman, his seat up for grabs. You have Susan Beiswitz, Chris Murphy lighting up. That becomes sort of a hot race to watch. What are the insiders saying about how that shakes out?
Yeah, that's a very good race. I think most of the insiders think that Linda McMahon will run on the Republican side. Joe Courtney is not running.
That surprised you that Courtney said step aside?
No. Once Murphy got in, I did not think Courtney would run. Courtney's got his hands full. He's got a big second district there, 50-something towns, and he's got a lot of work to do. He's got his hands full.
All right. He's Chris Keating, Capitol Bureau Chief, the Blog Watch. When we come back, folks, we'll talk about a bombshell announcement by Hartford Mayor Pedro Segarra that has upended the search for a new Hartford schools chief. Don't even think about going away.